thanks for joining us this week on Beautifully Courageous.
Today you're going to hear about our conversations about some of our biggest family values, starting with contentment over comfort. And you're going to hear about that in just a second. I'm caught off guard by just how quickly it happened. If you caught our blog last week, we introduced the conversation centered around gratitude. Brooke and I have just been having conversations about what does that look like and what has that looked like in our marriage. And then obviously bringing 3 kids into the mix, every child being different. How have we tried to implement gratitude? How have we tried to instill that value in our kids as well as our marriage and just have it as a big piece of our family dynamic? And so we have a couple different values that we don't have like plastered on our wall, but we have them on our hearts, and we definitely try to use that in our parenting moments. Yeah. And so one of them would be contentment over comfort. One of the biggest reasons that we have this conversation, we try to break it down, is because when you look around you, our culture is all about being comfortable. Mm-hmm. So making enough or obtaining enough or having enough to be comfortable. This really came from Philippians 4:12, which is a letter that Paul writes in the New Testament, and it says that I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Can you say hey? Say hey.
Hey, what? I do what?
Just say hey to everybody. Say hey. Tell them your name.
Yeah.
This verse is super encouraging and reaffirming to me, because there's this idea for some reason that if you're a Christian, if you follow Jesus, that everything comes easy after that point. That you have all the blessings and that you never face trial, you never face hardship, but that's obviously not the reality. And so this idea of being content, whether I have enough or I don't have enough, whether in my abundance or in my lack, is something that every year around this time we seem to kind of, everything just revolves around that, because we've seen God's faithfulness in our life.
It's definitely easy as a Christian to get caught up in, why aren't the blessings coming down? I'm serving you. I'm worshiping God, so He should be giving to us.
Yeah.
And I can remember even when we first got married. But even when we first got married, it would be time to pay the house payment and the money just wasn't there. And I remember us thinking several times we need to pray all day, and then when we get home that money's going to be there because we have fasted and we've prayed and we've done what we've needed to do, and the money will be there. A couple of times it wasn't, and that was devastating for us, and we would either have to ask for help or do what we could to get by. Of course, that brought questioning, and there's always the verse that if He cares about the birds in the sky, then He'll definitely care about us. And we've had to cling to that several times, and it brought a lot of frustration. It still sometimes can bring frustration for us when we have just enough to get by, but maybe not enough to go on a date, or maybe not enough to take the kids to Marbles, or somewhere just to hang out.
Since we brought our first kid home, Brooke has stayed at home with them, and so now we have 3, and that is still standing. I work and she's staying at home. When the financial issues rose up, I feel the weight of that. Not saying she does it, I know she does, but as their single provider, the only provider for the home, I feel that. And so all these questions of, okay, and just being transparent, should I do something besides ministry? God, I'm saying yes to you. I feel like you should be taking care of me and my family. The moment that there wasn't enough there, my first reaction was to question God, and then it would become more of an internal. Okay, I need to do more, or I'm not providing enough. I'm not doing enough for her. And then those doubts and fears, and the way the enemy just kind of slides in there and starts preying on those fears and those thoughts. And I would say that's definitely the most insecure time that I have felt as a husband and as a father. God definitely moved miraculous ways. He was definitely faithful, but it wasn't in the sense that we were necessarily looking for. Like, we're praying all these like big, bold prayers, wanting God to kind of like, poof, here's the money, or oh my God, look at the bank account, money just popped in there. How did that happen? But it was, here's what happened. He used his people.
He did.
God used his people. Sometimes that was family. Sometimes that was the people in the churches that we've been a part of, or it's just like kind of random encounters. Like, God has used his people to provide his provision, and that's something that we've seen play out in our life, our marriage, our family, so many times.
And I've had numerous people ask me so many times, what does it take for you to stay home? You're a mom of 3 kids, your husband's in ministry. What does it take for you to stay home? I've always came back to that question with, it's never been easy. We've never been comfortable. We've always been content. So I've always been able to say, the date nights might lack, or we might not be able to get a new outfit every week, but we're certainly comfortable. For Josh and I, right now, one of our favorite songs is Let's Stay Home Tonight. And we have grown to not in bed tonight, home tonight.
But sometimes that leads.
Yeah, right, okay.
Sorry, Mom, if you're watching.
But for us, we learned how to be content, not being able to always have a date night a week.
Right.
Which is something that's important to me. My love language is quality time. And so I need quality time with him. And that didn't always happen, especially when we moved an hour away from family. So the babysitters were far and few between.
So we learned that quality time, there's more ways than one to spend quality time. There's more ways than one to date. And so we've had to be creative in that, you know. So
a tangible thing for experiencing contentment over comfort for us was to get our schedule in line.
Yeah.
So we both have made sure that he's home at a reasonable time, and that when he gets in the door, his work is staying outside, and this is family time. But then between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, our children are in bed, and at 8 o'clock until we decide to go to bed, that's our time. I feel like it's been a great way for us to experience contentment even when the surroundings were uncomfortable.
That's good. Yeah. This value has been huge for us. We have to continue to come back to it, because there are so many moments where we've been uncomfortable and we wanted to take the easy way out. And so while finances have kind of been an issue and it's made things uncomfortable, to me, that's how we've seen Jesus walk on water. That's how we've seen Jesus take the bread and the fishes and provide for 5,000. Actually more than that, right? Because God's done that in our lives. Not with a loaf of bread or a fish, or not by walking on water, but by using his people to provide for us. By allowing us to experience contentment in one another, not with just the things that we have in our possession and around us. But I think beyond just financial, I think for me, this value really boils down to our purpose. And I don't believe that God sent his son Jesus here to save me and save you and to save you for us just to be comfortable. To be content, yes, absolutely. But that contentment only comes through him. We just talked about that. Even when we didn't have enough, we were still content. Paul talks about it in Philippians. Whether he's well-fed or hungry, he's content. That comes from Christ. But I think it also speaks to the life that Jesus invites us to. So in John 10:10, when he says, I want you to have an abundant life, a full life. He's not talking about stuff or social status. I think he's talking about a full life, like your purpose is being achieved. You're fully alive.
We brought home 3 babies in 3 years, and for me it was very easy to hide behind Josh, to hide behind my babies. It was very comfortable for me to do that. And so you, for so long, have asked me, what is it I'm supposed to be doing? What is it God has for me? And the comfortable thing for me is to hide behind my children, to be their mom, to be your wife, to do the necessities, to care for them, to kiss the boo-boos, to keep them to the side while you stand up and you preach, or you do the ministry, and I just aid alongside of you.
Right.
I've always been lucky that he has pushed me to step into that contentment and not just to be comfortable. And so for me, I had to step out and put the kids in church nursery, or say, hey, can you stay home tonight while I do what God is calling me to do, or find people to help watch the children so that I can either walk alongside of you, because that's fulfilling for me, and that is definitely not comfortable. It's not easy for me to get on a stage or be in front of people without the babies in my arms, because I can hide behind them, or I can hide behind you.
Yeah.
So that's definitely.
Yeah, and then one of the things that I just know, because we're married, as a part of that, it took some courage, right?
Lots of courage.
It took some courage to do that, but then you also had to get over the guilt that you faced with not being mom all the time, and not being the one who was there all the time. And so that's one thing that you've kind of had to conquer as well. You've had to choose. You've had to get uncomfortable with that and accept that. So that's good. This is truly the life of family vloggers. My wife, Brooke, just had to leave and go pick up our daughter for carpool. And so I get to finish this video by myself. And I really just want to say this. You've heard a little bit about some of our struggles, some of the conversations and the tension and the questions that we've wrestled with anytime that we experience a part of our life that was uncomfortable. A large part of that for us has been financially. But what has kept us rooted and anchored is the purpose that we believe God has for us individually and as a family. It's kept us rooted. And any time that we've experienced something that was uncomfortable, and the temptation was to take the easy way out, or to take matters into our own hand, what increased our faith when it should have shrunk, what increased it and helped it grow, was us just leaning into, number one, who God is and what His Word says, but then also what we believe He has for us and what He wants us to do. And time again, when we've chosen contentment in that over being comfortable, we've seen God bring His blessings. We've seen that full life. We've seen that overflow. And so next week, we're actually going to bring our kids into the conversation, because we want to talk about how we've instilled this value, not only in our marriage, but in our kids' life and in our parenting. Because you know this, you don't have to teach a kid to be selfish or entitled or to want more. They naturally start talking and walking, and then they want that. They want more, right? And they feel entitled to it. And so what are some ways that we have successfully and unsuccessfully taken this value, this principle, and then put it in the life of our kids? And so they're going to talk about that too, so that should be a lot of fun. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that anytime we drop content, you don't miss out. And if this conversation was meaningful to you at all, would you just share it? Thanks again for taking the time to hang out with us today, and we'll see you guys next week.